Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name's Fahim.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good
That's
Rookies.
right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 87.
87.
87 for him. Like, what? Okay. So, as y'all know, we like to always bring back amazing guests. And tonight, Miss Yo, the man is back. Fahim, please introduce who we got.
All right. So it's a flashback. We had him at episode 37, and now we're at episode 87. So that's a round number of 50. So it's definitely meant to be.
A 50 piece.
A 50, a Carmelo, but not an Elasto. So I definitely just hold on to your hats. He comes with a lot of bars, a lot of knowledge, and let's keep it there. Let's welcome Mr. Duds to the podcast today.
Mr. Duds.
Mr. Duds.
Mr. Duds. Mr. Duds. What's going on, Mr. Duds? How are you today, man?
I'm great. It's a beautiful sunny day. I took a walk today. It's nice to feel a little bit of sunlight on your skin, and it's not peeling off because it's like -1. So
hey, listen, in Toronto, we are owed this type of weather. And I have to ask this question because we're recording. It is a play-in tournament, and we're about to go into the playoffs. And our home team, the Toronto Raptors, has made it as 5th seed. And, we haven't been here since pre-pandemic. You know what I'm saying? We actually played in the bubble in our last playoff series, and that was in Florida. And now the boys are back home. And we always felt that if we played Boston in a regular season, in a regular actual game where Toronto, I feel like we would have won that series. I'm sorry, Boston fans. I'm just saying, I just feel like if we had our home crowd and everything, I don't know, y'all. But anyways, it's just so good to have Toronto Raptors play now, and they're going to be home next week. What's your thoughts on the Raptors making it back to the playoffs in a transitional year, Mr. Duds?
Well, great question, Lily J. And let me just start by answering the first part of what you said with the whole with the series with Boston. It was Game 7 and the last 30 seconds. That's all I'm going to say about that in a bubble, not in Toronto. Game 7 in Toronto, different story.
Hello. I'm just saying. And
just I'm leaving it there and leaving it in the past, but I'm just gonna leave that there. That being said, I'm excited. They're back, and honestly, quite frankly, I think this team has definitely probably overachieved what most people thought they would do. Definitely what I thought they would do. I thought, 6, maybe a play-in. You were mentioning play-in, obviously. I thought they would be around there, and they exceeded expectations. It's been fantastic, and I think they match up really well with Philadelphia. And I'm not sure how well Philadelphia will be able to react to the way that Toronto can switch on defense, and that switchability, that positionless basketball. I think that will cause some issues. Yes, Embiid will get his points. However, I feel that they do have the right matchups and the right schemes that they can help, limit the points production from the rest of that squad in Philly. So it should be a great series.
It should be great. And I think most fans were looking, for us to play, Philadelphia. So let's see what happens. Fahim, let's go to our next topic.
All right. So real quick, Mr. Duds, what do you have? Give me a number.
For the Raptors or for the Plains?
That's right. Raptors.
I honestly, the first thing I thought about when I saw the matchup with Philadelphia that was locked in and confirmed, I thought Raptors in 6.
Why not?
And why not? I think that it's all about matchups.
Right.
And if you let Embiid get his 40 points, fine. You stop everyone else. Harden, he needs to prove that he can be that Robin to the Batman, so to speak. And if he can, then we're in trouble. But if we can limit him, then we definitely have a chance. So I say Raps in 6.
Got you. Nelly J, real quick, a number.
I said it on the Raptors spaces, Raptors in 6, man. I'm consistent here. Yep.
Yeah, that seems a
Same
pretty
thing I said.
consistent. That's
Yeah.
consistent amongst all of us. I'm with 6 also. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
So interesting time in tennis. Something that doesn't happen too often. A world's number one, Ashley Barty, first of all, give her some respect. She retired from the age of tennis, or she retired from tennis at the age of 25. So on top, in her prime, and she pulls away from the game. Mr. Duds, I'll let you start with this. What's your thoughts on Ash Barty retiring from tennis at 25?
Great question for him as always. And when that news broke, I was pretty shocked. And then she put up the social media post and heard her own words talking about this big decision that she's making. And she was really talking and positioning it as she wants to essentially make a change in her life. And she essentially has achieved all of her goals by winning the Australian Open in her home country. And it's remarkable her journey in tennis, and definitely as an Indigenous woman in tennis as well. So she definitely is a trailblazer in terms of what she's done, and just really being this sort of immovable force in women's tennis for the past few years. And it is strange to hear her retirement at such a young age, because she really is at the prime of her career. And who knows what could happen over the next, let's say, 5-10 years. How many more accolades could she achieve? How many more Grand Slam tournaments would she be winning? Because it's pretty clear she's well, not just number one ranked, but boy, oh boy, she's really tough to get out. And so when I first heard it, I thought, oh, you know what? I respect her for doing it. Definitely a little bit of, I won't say confusion, but just more of like, wow, that's quite young to be retired from tennis. But she's looking for a next chapter. Perhaps it's another challenge. I don't think she's really stated what she's looking to do. But it's not the first time people have taken a step back. Tennis is a young person's sport. A lot of times people go professional, 14, 15, 16 kind of thing. And so, if you're a professional at that age, and you've been in the game for 10 years, that's a minute still in tennis. Versus, let's say, an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old, and he's been playing for 10 years in, let's say, NBA or NHL or NFL. Well, NFL maybe a little bit older than 18, 20. In any case, she's been playing for a while, and perhaps she just realized, what, I've done all I need to do, and I'm looking to do something else. So I respect it. I think tennis, is weakened by her not being there, but ultimately it's about her. And, we saw Naomi Osaka take a step back just for her own mental health. And that's one of the things I thought about right away. I'm not equating that to Ash Barty's decision, but she took a step away for something for her. So that's how I look at it. I really respect Ash Barty for doing something for her.
Love it.
Nelly J?
Yeah, so my thoughts is quite similar. I just feel that, sometimes playing a sport, after a while, it's not fun anymore. It's not fun. Like, people think, most people who have jobs that aren't behind sports, they think, oh my gosh, it's the best job ever to play sports. But after a while, sometimes you don't want, the love for the game goes away. And some people, and we can see people in the NBA today who are playing basketball, but they don't ever improve. They don't ever develop. They have the same skill set they had in college. You know what I'm saying? And so I think some people show us they don't care about their sport by just not improving. And some people show us they care by improving and reaching new heights, right? It kind of reminds me of when MJ retired, after 3-peat, he's like, okay, I'm done, right? Okay, he played baseball, then he came back, right? Ash Barty retired today. She can come back maybe in a couple of years if she feels like it. But I think it just shows that athletes do have the power, and they have in their hands, right? If I want to take a step back from tennis, I will. If I don't want to, I won't. But I think it reminds us that these athletes are humans like everyone else. And sometimes, like all of us, we all get a job that we love, and after a decade or two, we don't like it anymore, right? It is what it is. And so because she reached her goals and she reached her new heights, maybe her new goal is in a different, vertical, a different job, a different position, maybe empowering people in her home, in her home country. But at the end of the day, she made her money. She was number one. She retired at the number one spot. Like you can't get better than that. You know what I'm saying? So I admire it. I wasn't shocked, to be honest. I was like, okay, cool. Like it is what it is. Like not everyone's gonna like what they do forever. It's not realistic. Right. I think our parents kind of painted that picture that it was like that, you know, because I think most of our parents had the same job forever, right? But I think us not growing up, you understand that, hey, sometimes I want to do one thing, but then I've reached that height. What's next for me? So I love it. I admire her for doing it. And I think, and hopefully more athletes do retire when they are ready mentally to do so and not just doing it because of the money. Because I think us as fans, we can tell when someone's just doing the motion and doesn't really care. You know what I'm saying? We can all tell. So I love it. I love it.
So it's funny that you mentioned MJ. So Ash Barty, when she was 15 years old, and actually Mr. Duds, you had mentioned earlier about how tennis is a young person's game, because you're right. People do come at 13, early teens, and start to be pros. Ash Barty's a unique, and not only did she leave on top, which makes her unique, but her career, if you think about it, is very unique. When she was young, as an early teen, she was ranked number 2 in the world for doubles. Okay. At 16 years old, she'd already retired. So after being successful in doubles, she'd retired and went and played cricket for about a year and a half, put the racket down to refresh of what she needed. And then after came back. And then when she came back after that teen retirement at, I think it was 17, 18, then she won her first singles. So she reached the top in doubles and also in singles, which makes her so unique. And like you guys were mentioning in regards to MJ, she did this like MJ on top, retired, wheeled it back and retired again for good. So shout out to Ash Barty. And earlier mentioning Mr. Duds about her in the Grand Slams. She has like every Grand Slam except the US Open. So she's won, she's won the Australian Open. She's won the French Open, won Wimbledon. And all she left was the US Open. It would have been great if she could have left with that, but to leave with 3 Grand Slam titles, also doing it on with doubles. Also, she has she never won a Grand Slam mixed, but in regards to doubles, she's won the US Open for doubles. So technically, she has all 4. You know, she has the US, the Wimbledon, French, and she has the last one, the Australian. So she has them all, you know, whether it be doubles, singles. She retired, like I said, 25. It's crazy. One last thing in regards to her retiring on top at 25. I think of other people in history who've done this that I can remember off top. Andre Ward, he's a very popular boxing announcer now. When he was a middleweight, he retired undefeated and on top very early. Now in boxing, it might be a little bit different. In tennis, he might have different reasons for boxing. He may be thinking about his health, etc. Same thing that can actually be said with Rocky Marciano. He's known as, Floyd's, 49-0. Well, he retired with 49 fights because of the fact that he was still on top, but he knew that his time of getting beat was right around the corner. So I think he shut it down, and he went, much like Andre Ward, went into announcing also. So it seems to be a trend. So if, Ash Barty follows the legends before, perhaps we hear calling tennis games as a commentator. You never know. But shout out to Ash Barty, man. That's a story that not really talked about. This is the number 1 women's tennis player who retired. I think it's worth more than just a little headline and keep it moving.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was announced. I remember when it went out, like it was breaking news everywhere. But I think, I don't think the media and endorsements want to promote top athletes retiring because that's money. So I'm not surprised that it wasn't like, everywhere. I mean, it was everywhere. It was announced everywhere. But I'm just saying, I'm surprised that they weren't really lingering on this topic for
it doesn't seem like a conversation piece very much. I haven't heard anyone talking about it at all.
Not really.
Very small segment of the news cycle.
Yeah.
How much do you think Osaka, and Nelly J, you mentioned, how much do you think Osaka would happen with her being or feeling like she was being bullied? Remember, and she had to withdraw. And just with her mental, how much do you think that would have played into her early retirement?
Well, it's a good question because when Naomi, when she first announced that she's taking a break from tennis, in Clubhouse, they had a room about mental health, and there was a few doctors who work with athletes and a few managers who manage tennis players. And they talked about how lonely it is to be a tennis player, how a lot of times they travel alone. They don't have an entourage. They kind of travel by themselves and they spend a lot of hours just training and alone time, right? You think like, we see boxers have entourages. We see other athletes normally have a group of people and friends, but in tennis, they don't really have that. It's them, a trainer, and that's it. It gets really lonely. And so they were talking about how a lot of tennis players deal with what she went through. They deal with anxiety, they deal with depression because they're alone a lot of times. And we see them, they walk out to play, but after their matches are over, they go home alone. Right. And sometimes their family can't travel with them or they can't be with them on the road all the time because their schedule is so rigorous. It's kind of hard. So, when they talked about that, I was like, wow. I did, because they said, athletes of team sports, they have a team with them. So they have the social aspect every day on the court, off the court, or on the field. It's like a family. But tennis players, a lot of times, I'm not going to chill with a fellow tennis, opponent, right? So a lot of times they are alone and it does get lonely. That's why, a lot of them do deal with what Naomi dealt with. And they're talking about how it's a common thing. So her retiring for him, again, I wasn't surprised. I guess because I kind of heard the life of a tennis player it isn't as glamorous as we all think it would be. It makes sense. So I'm like, yeah. And maybe she comes back in the future when she feels like it, but maybe she knows like at this time, it's not fun. It's boring. It's not fun for me. I've made it all that I want to make it. I'm not, what I'm saying? So I get it. I totally get it.
How about you, Mr. Duds? Anything, do you think, how much do you think that Osaka has anything to do with her retirement? Very quickly, what do you think?
Well, a few points that both of you brought up, LJ and Fahim, that, and in general, I'll just, kind of highlight some of that, the team aspect and the individual aspect of tennis, and that not just rigorous schedule. They're not playing within North America. They're not playing within United Kingdom as English Premier League. You know what I mean? They're literally flying around the world, different time zones, living out of a suitcase, living out of a hotel, no place to land, like, put up your feet, so to speak. You're not at home unless you're playing at home, so it is a rigorous lifestyle for sure. And I'm sure that's mentally taxing on you when you're constantly going from time zone to time zone, different countries, you're not at home, you don't have your people with you, in terms of your close-knit family and friends. They just can't come with you because they have their own lives, they have their own jobs, and they can't just get up and go to France or Australia or wherever you might be playing, or different parts of the United States, for example. So I think that's a big part of it. And when, I've been watching tennis for a long time, and one thing you notice about tennis is that you are on an island to yourself. It is you and the other person. And the matches are huge and the prize monies are huge. And it is you and that other person. And so you can see in tennis matches sometimes where a moment will happen and it will literally fundamentally shift the entire dimension of that match. And you do see that in team sports, but you see it highlighted so much more so in tennis because you're on this court and it's you and it's the other person and they get under your skin, or you're having a frustrating game, your serve isn't working, you can't get returns, and you see them, talking to themselves or just like, going through the practice motions of, my backhand, like, what am I doing wrong with this? What am I doing wrong with this? Sometimes, they get upset and start, smashing rackets and whatnot, but they don't have an opportunity to, have a timeout. And, someone on the team can say, hey, you know what, I see you're really frustrated here. You got a couple of fouls early. You got this penalty, whatever the case may be. You got burned on that play and someone scored a touchdown on you. There's none of that happening. You have to deal with it in the moment yourself. Mm-hmm. And I know that there was some issues with, or incidents, I should say, with Serena and alleged coaching that was happening. So no one can coach you in that moment. You have to coach yourself. You have to pull yourself out when you feel down, when you feel low. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, we'll never really see unless someone really maybe opens up about that. But that's a big part of the game. And perhaps maybe people who play tennis they realize that's part of the game, but they have to do all of that. And we see, in other sports where you have an entire team of people, not just your teammates, but a team that's around you to help you, encourage you, maybe to break you out of it. So,
right. So I'll be interested to see what Ash Barty has for next chapter, but shout out to Ash Barty most definitely. Nelly J, you want to go to For the Culture?
For the culture, we like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today we get to highlight, first of all, she's considered one of the GOATs when it comes to women's basketball. Okay. 4-time Olympic gold medalist, 3-time WNBA MVP, Miss Hall of Famer, Lisa Leslie, who has launched her own real estate firm, who she debuted with Aston Rose, who actually was a professional cheerleader for 20 years, and as well as former professional basketball players. We got Rob Height and Rod Watson, and they actually are launched or co-founded with Lisa Leslie, her own real estate firm called Aston Rose. So Aston Rose debuted in California and Florida markets, and Tony Rose was the co-founder and professional cheerleader. So this is a wonderful initiative by Lisa Leslie. So the real estate firm, they actually specialize in finding properties for celebrities and athletes nationwide. And her entire goal is to help athletes and celebrities identify quality investments and avoiding any kind of pitfalls and helping them create generational wealth. To date, Aston Rose and the team has closed more than 500 million in real estate transactions combined, y'all. So let's give it up for Lisa Leslie, y'all.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
Amazing. So, Mr. Duds, what's your thoughts on the fact that she's kind of won everything in terms of basketball for women, and now she's really advocating and wanting to help former athletes and current athletes invest and create wealth for their family outside of sport?
Well, first of all, I mean, Lisa Leslie is a basketball legend. And it's not just simply, the first woman to dunk in the WNBA. And it is a great distinction to have, but that's not her only distinction.
Agreed.
And the fact that, she's grown outside of simply just being, a basketball player, just someone who's helping people, as you so well put, Nelly J, create generational wealth. And that's really, transformative in a society to do something like that. And, it's a massive initiative. It's, definitely ultra exclusive. So I will not be utilizing their services because I can't afford to. I don't know if the three of us combined would be able to. In any case, no, but they are catering to a specific market. They have a very clear plan what they're looking to do and to showcase. And the fact that she is behind this and as a founding member of this initiative, this organization, it's a wonderful thing to see, and to see her, translate her basketball career and her earnings in something that I'm not sure what her salary arrangement is, but perhaps even more lucrative than what she earned in the WNBA, which would be even transformative for herself. So either way, she's involved in something huge.
Agreed.
So with Lisa Leslie, definitely a legend for the WNBA. Hands down. I just find it's interesting because it makes sense with her being in the LA market. And the market she's choosing to target are the rich, where real estate prices in California are very high, and she would be able to use her celebrity, also her know-how. Also, let's not discredit the fact that just because she's a basketball player, that she doesn't understand business, right? So it kind of reminds me of like Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter, he was an owner of the Marlins in Miami, right? Yep. And Jeter, he was there for spring training. So when he retired from baseball and was an owner there, people didn't understand that he understood the landscape because he's been there spring training year after year after year, right? So I think that's kind of an advantage of having someone in that market who has a name. So Lisa Leslie is going to do very well in this because she has, as we know in real estate, it's location, location, location. And when you have a name such as Lisa Leslie in that location, and bringing else others in there with her, it's a slam dunk, So shout out to her, looking out. And when Nelly J, as you mentioned, generational wealth. I think it's great that athletes, especially athletes, aren't waiting to retire to get involved with business now. Athletes are seeing themselves as a business themselves. So now it's great that Lisa Leslie is in a position where she can say to active players now, hey, you know what? I have a name. I have a business. Let me see how I can help you. So shout out to Lisa Leslie. Definitely.
Lisa. Yeah, it's great. It's something that you touched on, Mr. Duz and Fahim, the fact that, a lot of times, athletes, we've seen many documentaries about athletes, especially Black athletes, going bankrupt, right? Coming bankrupt, like making all these millions, but after they retired, they got nothing to show. And we've seen it from many Hall of Famers who are living regular lives like us, working jobs because they didn't, invest. So I think this is really great because, the WNBA, a lot of the athletes there aren't making a lot of money. They make more when they play overseas. But the fact that they can start investing in real estate, figure out or make generational wealth on top of playing the sport they love, I think it's really going to hit a nerve with these ladies. And I think it's something that I hope to see more of, where we're teaching these athletes how to make wealth outside. Like we saw on our Last for the Culture, it was Steph Curry and Shaq, right? We've seen Kevin Durant do movies. Like they're going into different verticals and industries to invest. Shout out to Jay-Z and even Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, talks about owning property and entrepreneurship. They push this type of narrative, saying that you got to own your own stuff, right? Prince pushed it too. So I love the fact that we're seeing new leaders doing this and helping these guys, figure it out. So big up to Lisa Leslie, man. Big up to her.
Most definitely. And so on the way for the culture, that's a quick question. What's the percentage that you feel women make of commercial real estate in the commercial real estate industry in the United States?
I don't know, 10%, 20%.
Mr. Judge?
Is this in comparison to what men make?
No, it's like a percentage of there's male and there's female, and what percentage of them do you think are male and what percentage are female? So, and what percentage do you think are women?
Interesting. I'll say 12%.
Yeah. So Lisa Leslie is definitely in the right lane. It's 37% approximately.
Okay.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah, there's a gender gap that's been closed. It says was between 10%. It's been closed. So as years go on, that gap between men and women is closing as time goes on. So she picked the right lane. Congratulations to Lisa Leslie, and best of luck with her venture, most definitely.
Congrats, Lisa, and Aston Rose and her partners. And
Definitely.
we hope more athletes do invest in real estate.
Real estate. All right. Nelly J, do you want to go to That's Absurd?
That's absurd. Fahim, bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
Magic Johnson. He's made a reputation of being an astute businessman. Sometimes you don't always get it right. Magic Johnson apparently, so as we know back in the day, there was the Converse All-Stars. He signed with Converse. He had an opportunity to sign with Nike. And apparently, quote our source, Fadeaway World, they said that Magic Johnson missed a chance to earn $5.2 billion because Nike offered him $1 for every pair of shoes that sold and 100,000 shares that were worth 18 cents at the time. In today's, if you would have kept that investment today, $5.2 billion. Absurd.
Yo, I almost just had like a freaking like I feel like I just got pregnant by hearing that number. I'm not pregnant, but I feel like when I heard that number, that what he could have had, I feel like I just got pregnant. Are you telling me this man missed out on 5.2 billion for him?
Wow.
Whew, absurd. Mr. Duds, your thoughts?
Mr. Duds.
You know, I saw a little clip and he was talking about it, and he was saying I was 19 and he didn't understand stocks, and someone saying I'll give you stock. I was like, okay, I can't see what that is, and someone else is giving cash and he's gonna secure the bag and get that cash. And you know, little do we know that, you know, that little fledgling company Nike would just become this monstrosity. And keep in mind, you know, he was a rookie like in 1979, and so late 70s. And you know, Jordan obviously came into the league in 84, so a little bit of a gap there between when Nike really became, you know, that truly household name. But boy, oh boy, I'm sure that's one that I don't know if it keeps him up at night, but I'm sure he's reminded of it whenever he sees a Nike ad.
No, for sure. But quick question. Okay, fine. He didn't know in 79, but wouldn't you try to get in with Nike? I don't know, maybe around 1985, 89? Because when Nike blew up in the 90s, like, wouldn't you try to at least invest in Nike like early 90s when you saw Jordan winning a three-peat? I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, why wouldn't you at least dive into an investment or buy a stock in the early 90s? Because by then you're 10 years older, you're a bit more wiser. And Magic, you know, owns many investments, properties, part owns the Dodgers. Like, he's obviously well off. Like, he's not like struggling. But I'm just wondering, like, why wouldn't he have, you know, invested in Nike earlier, you know, a bit, I guess, after he retired? I'm just curious. I'm just wondering, but damn, 5.2 billion. That's absurd, man. That's a lot of money.
Definitely. And Nike wasn't Nike as we know it. So let's be fair to him, right? Like at the time,
but for him, listen, we're being fair. All I'm saying is that in the 90s, Nike blew up. We all knew about, you know what I'm saying? Like in the 90s, when especially when Nike had a commercial with Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson, like they were doing everything. You know what I'm saying? I want to be like when you see Jordan in the same level as Jackson, like, come on. Like, I'm not saying I get it in the 80s, like, understand that, but Nike blew up in the 90s. So all I'm wondering, and I don't think Converse was that big. Converse had some shoes in the 90s, but Nike surpassed them, I believe, in the mid 90s. So all I'm saying is that I think we have grace for him back in the 80s, not knowing, but now you're seeing their stocks going up. Why don't you try to get into the stocks around 96, 97? That's all I'm wondering. So by that time, you know better. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you're 16 years wiser. So you're so you're 28. You have a bit more knowledge. And I mean, Magic is a businessman. He's a businessman, right? So all I'm saying is that I get it. He made a mistake, but if I was a professional player, I would have tried to invest in Nike because we all saw it blowing up after MJ did his 3P.
On. So when that would have been, so the Converse All-Stars, which was great marketing because it's timing. This is mid 80s. We're talking Bird. We're talking Magic. We're talking the shoes match the team. You know, if you like the Celtics, you had the black and white. If you like the Lakers, you had the gold and purple. It was a marketing genius move at the time. By the time MJ would have came by, say, 10 years later, I don't even know if that offer still would have been on the table for Magic Johnson at that point. You know what I'm saying?
He came in 84. So I would say MJ became very popular from when he got into the league. Because remember, he was like, he won scoring titles, defensive player, MVP. Like he was big. But to your point, I'm just wondering, like, after the first repeat, to your point, would Nike have offered him that same thing? Probably not, but he could have at least tried to buy stocks in it. You know, that's all. For
sure. Well, one thing we know, he's owner in Burger King franchises. Starbucks is a huge one for Magic Johnson slept on. As we know, Magic Johnson Enterprises, so the movie theaters, the gyms, you know, he's definitely he's not a flop when it comes to business. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no.
But it's just funny. Like, not everyone who makes a reputation for being great, along the way, they have these mishaps. We don't never want to see people fail, but it's nice that to see that people are actually human and have these mishaps, kind of a learning experience for maybe other people who come along, you know? I'd have to say though, as much as Magic gets all the praise of being a great businessman, low key, Shaquille O'Neal is the GOAT, I'd have to say, of ex basketball players turning into business.
So question for you and for Mr. Duds. Guess how much Magic Johnson's net worth is versus Shaq?
Oh, good question.
I think Magic is worth about 600 mil, but I'm not sure where Shaq's sitting at.
You can guess.
I guess.
So guess.
Reebok deal was good for him.
So you are right. Magic is worth 600 million. So sorry, Fahim. He got it right. You get it. So Fahim, X for you. But the second question is Shaq net worth more or less than Magic 600?
Since you took that off the table, can I go, Mr. Duds?
Yeah.
I think you might be right. I might be wrong. I got to. I'm gonna go with Shaq is more than Magic Johnson.
Okay, and Mr. Duds, what's your guess?
Well, I'll say that the Reebok deal was pretty lucrative for Shaq back in the day. You know, maybe Shaq's a little bit higher, and that TNT deal, maybe he gets some of that money.
Also, money. Google. He's one of the early.
Let's say seven. I'll just say 700. Throw a number. I have no point of reference for it. I'm just throwing it out. There's the number.
Okay, hold on. If he's going 700, I'm going 701.
Okay,
you're raising me $1.
It's honestly, it's okay because you're both wrong. So Shaq is worth less than Magic. He's actually 400 million as of 2022. Yeah.
Okay.
400 million. So again, even and I mean Shaq. I mean, at the end of the day, Magic didn't do that bad, especially for like someone at his time, like being 600 million, that's almost $500 million or over $500 million. He's doing really well compared to other guys who played before him and stuff. But yeah, he's still worth more than Shaq. So that means that even though he did miss out on 5.2 billion, at least he still has a lot of wealth and a lot of net worth for his family. So
definitely. Sure. That's one to grow on. All right. So Nelly J, let's put this episode in the books.
Y'all, that was episode 87.
87.
So, Mr. Duds, you know the deal. Okay, we love to have our guests to do a special shout out. So the floor is yours.
Well, you know, it's been 50 episodes since we last did this. You know, so my shout out is to Fahim and Nelly J. You know, holding it down, good rookie, still going strong. You know, it's kind of, you know, synergy that it's exactly 50 episodes later that I'm back on this show. And I felt welcomed the first time. I feel re-welcomed again. And I'm not saying you have to pencil me in, you know, 50 episodes down the road, but I know that you will be there 50 episodes down the road. Either way, whether I'm on or I'm not, I'll still be watching. I'll still be listening. I'll still be, you know, sharing and having those conversations because you really do, you know, highlight the culture. You know, you inform people, educate people, you entertain people. And I really appreciate both of you. So thank you. So that's my shout out.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. That's hard to go after, but my shout out is
just drop the 50 piece on you, you know.
I know, no, but thank you so much. You know, our shout out is to you, Mr. Duds. You know, definitely someone that we love having on the podcast. You always drop things that I don't know about. You really bring a different light and lens to topics. So I love having you on here to conversate and learn more, and of course, and discuss what's happening in the world of sports, right? So thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to do a second shout out to, now this is special, Amisha or Amisha, I don't know. Oh my gosh, these Black names, man, girl. But anyways, I think it's Amishaya. A girl, if I butcher your name, Amiyasha or Amishaya, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's the thought that counts.
Thank you. But Amisha, let's say Amisha or Amishaya Williams Holiday becomes the first HBCU player drafted into the WNBA since 2002. She actually went to Jackson State University, the same school as Deion Sanders is coaching right now, the football team there. Back from, I think it started there in 2020. So it's been 20 years since a WNBA player has been drafted to the WNBA, and that is Amisha Williams Holiday. So big up to you, my dear. You know, of course, we want to see more and more athletes going to HBCUs and, excelling. So it just shows that, HBCUs not only kind of educate you on your Black culture and your heritage, you can also, excel in sport, which I think is something we've been trying to push. So big up to you, my dear. And again, I'm sorry for butchering your name. Fahim.
Big up. I want to shout out Mr. Duds. I have to say he's like a gold star friend and follower. Mr. Duds is one of those people that supports, like the love is always there. It's amazing. Mr. Duds is the kind of person, I'll be honest, very surprised of the commitment that he puts to following the Good Rookies podcast. Someone who listens regularly. Someone who, if there's a post, will like, someone who's just really involved in our community. So I really have to salute you, Mr. Duds. And I know you do take in other outlets also, as you should, but you still find the time to take in us, and we're beyond thankful for you as part of our Good Rookies community. As I say that, I feel like as I'm saying this, I have another friend I just want to shout him out real quick. His name is Michael. Michael's someone I worked with a long time ago. We started the podcast early out, and I told him I had this podcast. He's like, cool. Pandemic came. We haven't kept in contact. One day I had to contact him out of something unrelated to anything. And he's like, oh, by the way, and he started talking about the podcast. And I was completely confused. I was like, oh, you listen to podcasts? He's like, yeah, like you are part of my Tuesday. I listen every single Tuesday while I'm at work. And I'm like, really? I was, there's no better feeling to know that we're in a place where content is king, and there's a ton of content out there. You could be doing anything. To think that, I'll give, these guys an hour of my time a week is beyond words. So I want to shout out Michael also, someone who apparently every single Tuesday we're part of his Tuesday routine. He says if he doesn't get us in the morning as soon as we drop, he gets it in the afternoon. I'm like, wow, that's tremendous. So it's people.
Sorry, Fahim. I have to big up Michael.
Definitely.
If you're watching, you're fam. I don't know you, but thank you for listening. We are so humbled, Michael, for real.
Most definitely. So, people like Michael and Mr. Duds, we just thank you so much.
Gratitude.
Really appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
My pleasure.
Right, so go ahead, Mr. Duds. We'll let you close out with this last word. Go ahead.
I'll just say, honestly, the two of you just create really creative vibes and creative content, and just keep on pushing that out there, because, the sky is the limit. You make great content.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we golf clap Mr. Duds on that one?
Yes, let's clap. Let's clap it up. And that's real claps, y'all. This ain't no manufactured clap on the program. No software clap. This is a real clap. Well, y'all, that was episode 87.
87.
So if you had a good time, you enjoyed yourself, please like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Fahim.
We're on all platforms if you're looking for us. It's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 87. And we out.
Peace.